My name is Rosemary Legrand, and I'm going to talk about two Christmas flowers in particular. The first one is the euphorbia, Poinsettia pulcherrima. It has the most gorgeous, rich scarlet flowers. In actual fact, they are bracts. The flowers themselves are tiny and insignificant and found in the centre of the inflorescence. The poinsettias are members of the Euphorbiaceae family, which is a very extensive and diverse family of plants, which encompasses annuals, perennials, subshrubs, tender shrubs and succulents. And the name is derived from Euphorbia, a classical person. He was a physician to the King Juba of Mauritania. I have seen many different types of euphorbia, and one in particular is candelabra, Euphorbia candelabra. It's a tree-like specimen. It resembles a large cactus and can be found in major botanical collections under glass in Europe and in the UK. And on the contrary, I had the great thrill and delight whilst being in Bhutan, a small Himalayan kingdom some years ago, of finding Euphorbia griffithii in the pastures. It's a jewel-like plant that many of us grow in our gardens, and it has these wonderful flame-coloured flowers. But something that all poinsettias and members of the Euphorbiaceae family have in common is that their stems contain a milky latex, a sap, which is poisonous, it's toxic, and it is also an irritant to skin. Nowadays, we have a wide variety of different colours to choose from in poinsettias at Christmas time, from colours ivory, yellow, peach to pink. And the fact that they are commercially produced in very large numbers is probably down to the fact that many are micro-propagated. And this means that they take a cell of vegetative material and they actually replicate it in a laboratory, so that produces a multitude of little plants. And that now means, after the skill of growing them on, that we have accessible and affordable plants to give us lots of Christmas cheer. Well, the second plant is Helleborus niger. This is the beautiful, exquisite little Christmas rose, known and loved for its delicate beauty, its almost translucent quality, and the virginal white of the flowers that I think reminds us all of virginal winter snow. Sometimes it doesn't always bloom at that specific time, but we do associate it with Christmas. It's so often used on Christmas greetings cards. And it's a member of the Ranunculaceae family. This is a very extensive family, if you consider that includes the humble buttercup and the wood anemone. It has a similarity to poinsettia in that every part of the hellebore is toxic. It is poisonous. Not always the easiest form of hellebore to grow, Helleborus niger is very particular about the conditions it likes. It likes an alkaline soil, which means it's limey, humus rich. It doesn't like full sun and it doesn't like to dry out. So a north-facing wall that's sheltered. And it will grow in acid soil, but you do have to adapt it. Perhaps a good suggestion is to use spent mushroom compost around your hellebores, and that will help with the pH of the soil, because the spent mushroom compost contains little fragments of chalk. So it is a compost that I would not recommend you spread around your ericaceous plants. They would not appreciate it. Something I always connect with the Christmas rose are some rather evocative words. A little saying that my mother-in-law always used to say, and that was that roses are like memories in December. And I think this year more than ever, that is a sentiment that we will all find particularly precious.
Hello everyone, my name is Bronda and today I'm going to talk about the Christmas tree. In December the days are so short and dark that I think the Christmas tree brings a bit of magic into our lives. My sister lives in Canada and one year we spent Christmas with them. And I remember walking down the street covered in snow and looking into people's houses at their Christmas trees and all the lights. It was beautiful. We've used evergreen plants for thousands of years to celebrate winter festivals. For example, the Romans and the Egyptians, they were using evergreen plants. Now it's alleged that Queen Charlotte had a Christmas tree at Windsor Castle in 1789. But of course at this time it was very much a European tradition. It was Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria, that we can thank for turning it into a British tradition. He had a tree sent over from Germany in 1841 for his children to enjoy. The Illustrated London News took a photograph of the family around the tree. Well, this encouraged many more families to do the same. And it became quite a tradition for the family to decorate the tree. Of course, at this time, it was very much the sort of thing you would use would be apples, nuts, maybe marzipan cookies. Some families even use small lit candles. Highly dangerous, I would have thought. It wasn't until 1880 that Woolworths decided to sell manufactured decorations, and these became very popular. So when do you put up your tree? A favourite time is the beginning of Advent, which is the fourth Sunday before Christmas. And this year that will fall on November the 29th. Another popular time is just 12 days before Christmas. Personally, I like to get my tree up nice and early because I think it gives us a feel-good factor. And it's something we're really going to need this year. There are many different types of trees. Artificial trees, they come in all shapes and sizes. But I rather like a real tree because a real tree gives us a feel-good factor. I like the smell of a real tree. And this particular tree here, I think is ideal for us. It's just going to be my husband and myself. Of course, in Trafalgar Square, they have a huge tree every year, which is given to us by the people of Oslo. And this was in recognition for the help that we gave Norway during the Second World War. National Trust properties put up some wonderful displays, and also, of course, country estates. Last year, I remember singing at Highclere Castle with my choir, and we were stood under this magnificent tree to entertain the public. Well, I think it just leaves me to say, I hope you all have a lovely Christmas, although I do think it could be a little different this year. Thank you for listening and Happy Christmas.
Hello, I'm Carole and I'm going to talk to you just briefly about a couple of the items that are to do with Christmas and really Christmas fare. The goose, I have one here with me, is where I'm going to start, and the goose was the centre of the feast at that time of year before Christmas was even thought about. It dates back to medieval times. It was popular with families because it fed the family, and also they grew their own, so they were plentiful in availability. I'd also like to talk to you about the plum pudding, the Christmas pudding as we know it now. The plum pudding or pud was originally a pottage, and it was a very wet food that was made with dry fruits and fats, and it really didn't look that appetising in the pictures I've seen of it. It was then added to with wine, and to thicken it, either breadcrumbs were added or ground almonds. And then, if all this doesn't sound sort of unappetising enough, they started to add meat to it, and meat stock and root vegetables. But it gets worse. To keep it and preserve it, they then started to stuff it in to animal stomachs or intestines, and that was the best way to keep it. With the fruit and the wine, which would also preserve it, it meant that it lasted for longer. As time went on, in the 16th century, dried fruit, became more available in this country, and consequently the pudding became a sweet dish made with suet and treacle and sugar and the fruits all mixed in together, making a very nice pudding. It then went on to be mixed by the family, made themselves, until Oliver Cromwell took control of the country in 1647. And Oliver Cromwell banned the Christmas pudding. It looks inoffensive enough, doesn't it? But he banned it, and it wasn't till 1660, when the Puritans took control, that the Christmas pudding, or pudding as it was then, became allowed to be eaten again and made in the country. Of course, it was much later in the Victorian era that the Christmas pud really took its place in our Christmas lives, and it was made centre stage of the Christmas feast. Charles Dickens and the Victorians, with Albert and Victoria, bringing all that they brought in to the Christmas life, really made it centre stage and now a staple part of our Christmas celebrations. I didn't have to stir my pudding, but I did take precautions in case anything went wrong, and I have got a small Christmas pudding that I bought just in case. So this Christmas pudding will be going on my Christmas tree to remind me every Christmas of the fun I had making this video today. So whatever you do, I hope you have a lovely Christmas. If you feel like making your own Christmas pud out of flowers or plant material, just look at the winter edition of the Flower Arranger, which landed on my doormat this morning. On the front cover is a Christmas pudding made with pine cones and roses. I couldn't stop and look at any more, but either way, you can make a guilt-free Christmas pudding to enjoy yourself. Have a lovely Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you. Goodbye.
Hello, my name is Gill Pelton, and I'm going to speak about the holly and the ivy today. Christmas is a time to be merry. It is a time also when flower arrangers sharpen up their secateurs, sally forth and gather greenery. A lot of the evergreens such as ivy and holly and cupressus. This is something that has been done over millennia. The holly, or to give it its genus, Ilex, is a very prickly character. The tree produces shiny green leaves with very prickly edges. The flowers are very small and they're white, and these in turn give us the wonderful red berries. To have berries, you have to have a male and female tree. It doesn't matter if you don't have both in your garden, because the pollinators will flit from one garden to the next, carrying the pollen with them. Of course, the birds are very partial to the odd hollyberry, and they do the tree a favour by spreading its seeds. There are many variegated varieties of holly, but two of the more popular are Golden King, which is very yellow and is female in character, and there is also the Silver Queen, which is a pale cream and is a male tree. To the Druids, the holly symbolised eternal life and fertility. They viewed cutting down a tree as extremely bad luck. However, if you took a few branches into the house, it would protect you against evil spirits and witches. The Christians took on holly to symbolise the crown of thorns that Christ wore to the cross. The white flowers are purity, and the red berries his blood. It is said if you take spiky holly into the house for Christmas, then the man of the house will rule the roost for the year. However, if you bring in smooth holly, the woman of the house will rule the roost for the coming year. The ivy is the genus Hedera. It has shiny green leaves. Its new green shoots put out aerial roots to climb. The thicker, older stems are so strong they are self-supporting. The ivy can grow over 30 metres in height. In autumn or early winter, it produces little green flowers in umbels, which you can see here. These are full of nectar, and there are 5 little petals. They produce the lovely green and black or purplish berries, which are lovely in a wreath. There are many variegations of ivy, just as in holly. I have used ivy to cover a rather grotty wall and also a scruffy area of the garden. But my pride and joy is a pot on my patio tumbles over the top of the pot to the floor. Ivy is an evergreen and has taken on a spiritual significance. It keeps away the evil spirits. The Greeks used to use it to crown their athletes. The Romans thought it might prevent a hangover if they wore a wreath of ivy. However, their god of wine and intoxication, Bacchus, wears a wreath of ivy, and you always see him smiling. He never suffers from a hangover, so it must work for him. The ivy was used to advertise an upcoming tavern. There would be a bush of ivy or a pole with ivy growing up it, and many pubs are called the Ivy today. Because of its very clingy nature, ivy symbolises love and friendship. It was often given in the old days by the priests to a newly married couple, and no self-respecting, romantic painter could pass a ruin covered in ivy. Turner did a very well-known picture of Tintern Abbey. This year, Christmas is going to be rather different, I fear. However, I'd encourage you to go out and collect evergreens and holly and ivy and enjoy decorating your homes. And I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
Hello everybody. I really hope that you enjoyed the Christmas videos that the Wessex and Jersey area put together for you to help us have a flower fix in these difficult times. All that's left for me to say is I wish you all and your families very happy and peaceful Christmas, and I hope that the regulations allow you to meet with your loved ones. Please stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Take care. Bye.
Well, that's another year nearly over. We wish you a very Merry Christmas with all your family and friends, and a very Happy New Year. And we'll see you back at Flower Club next year. Merry Christmas.